got to get some elevator music to liven this up for the next one, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're at about 2 minutes. So good morning, everybody, and welcome. Bill Baker here with Zoom Assist and Rover. Talk about Rover ERP, all things sales today with Ron Bogle. Just gonna kind of walk you through relationship and sales, customer relationship management, what it looks like in our .NET client, what it looks like in our web client. Then take you through some typical sales transactions, and then how to bring that to life using your Rover BI tool. So thanks for joining us. Please, we're going to be watching the chat as we go. So any questions, feel free to put them in the chat there, and we'll be happy to take them. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Ron.
Yep. Sorry. I just hit the wrong button and closed my.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, maybe not. Oh, I thought I did. I did. Okay, sorry. All right. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to start by going through in the .NET client, which I think most of you have been using, but we're not going to go through the entire sales and marketing module because we've only got 45 minutes or so. So we kind of culled out the least used features or the most misunderstood features in the module.
Hey Ron, just real quick, I don't know if you're sharing. If you could share your screen, I'm not sure if you were already there yet. Oh, okay, all right, excellent.
Okay. So I was just giving a heads up that what we're going to do is we're going to show the .NET, and then we're going to cover some of the less used parts of the sales and marketing module in the .NET. Then we're going to flip it over to Bill. He's going to bring it up in the web client and show you how the equivalent processes are over there. And we'll just kind of flip back and forth a couple times. And then at the end, we'll save some time for Q&A for anybody who would like to ask any questions. So we're all familiar with the .NET client, and we can see it here. I created a little CRM menu, probably not the right terminology for it, but I created one for today's meeting that had all the relationship type processes that we want to cover today, transaction processes, and then some miscellaneous. If we get time at the end, we'll go through some of the miscellaneous ones. But some of the least used processes in the Rover sales and marketing module. And we kind of started with a couple of control screens so that we can establish where the drop downs come from in the rest of the processes. So there's a group control in case you want to assign groups to customers. Customers can be a code, can be a dealer, a prospect, a customer. It can be whatever you want it to be, obviously an unlimited number. And you can give it a description, and then you can assign part numbers to that code as well if you like. But pretty much the majority of times when this is used, it's used with just codes and then a description. So when it prints on a report, it shows the description. Similar to this, then we have contact control, where you can type your contacts. And I think many of you are already using this, but we still have some people that don't. You may have noticed, and we'll see it when we get to the customer and the prospect screen, there is a type code underneath the contact ID field. That contact type comes from here, and you can assign it a contact type so that when you go to run processes, the correct contact type can appear. So in this case, I've got AP. So any procedure that accesses the AP file or the checks file, like an AP aging report, prints a contact name and a phone number. It will look through the contacts records to see if AP is a type code, and if it is, it'll use the first contact it finds with that code. You might have more than one, but it'll only print one on the report. That's for purposes like when I run an AR aging report, I don't really want to see the shipping contact person just because they're the first one in the customer list. However, I do want to see anybody who's related to the AR on the ARR3 report. So that's where this file name comes into play. Other than that, you can just type them for clarity of who this contact is. Now, Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, sure. I was just going to jump in real quick and just kind of talk these two contact groups, contacts and or contact types and groups. The sky's the limit for how you can use them, but this is a way that you can basically segment them to your business needs. So if you have different sales channels, if you have different groups you want to market to, anything like that, and then want to create mailing lists or other report on KPI versus that's kind of where that comes into play. So we're going to see a little bit later too, how to do some of the reporting side, but just wanted to jump in there, Ron. Go ahead.
Sure, anytime. So then there is a marketing campaign entry screen if you want to track marketing campaigns. And this is a data entry screen that will allow you to define a campaign, have a description, have a detailed description, and then have certain action dates on things you want to have happen. And then based on this, you can assign group codes from that group control record and contact codes from the contact control record, and then decide to include customers and prospects. And the idea of all this at the bottom is to create a selection criteria and a list of customers and or prospects to which you want to email. And this will allow you to export this to Excel and then use that in the mail merge process if you want to use that for purposes of emailing, doing mass emails, things like that. I'm not sure if many of you use, MailChimp or any of the other hundreds of email processes that are out there, but any of those will take an export, an import from an Excel after we export and allow you to process that list. So what this process does is sets you up with a campaign, and then when you hit the export to Excel, it will actually generate an Excel document based on the selections you've made, and then you can manually tweak that Excel sheet if you want before you import that into your mail merge process. So the campaign is, again, a lesser used process within the system, but for people who are doing CRM and wanting to track multiple campaigns and processes, this is a good way to do that. From there, we lead into prospects and customers. We all know customers. We all have got customers. We enter them before we do orders, and we do them before we do invoices and things. Prospects is a lesser used, lesser known screen, and it is kind of a preliminary customer. So a prospect would be somebody to which you are marketing and maybe even quoting, but you don't turn it into a customer until you actually get an order from them. So you get a PO from them, you go to enter a sales order, and you got to convert this prospect into a customer. So this allows you to create a suspect or prospect list without populating them into your customer file, so you know who's real and who's not. So if I look at, for instance, 6143, it's the date of the prospect, the status, address, all the basic information about this customer, including marketing groups, which came from group control, and then contacts, which we're all familiar with the contact stream from customers and vendors and now prospects. This is where that type code comes into play, where we can drop in and we can say it's an AR, it's an AP. Now this one's not linked for some reason, so it doesn't have one. But I could create a new contact. I could do that, and you can assign the contact type code here. You can also put in logs, which are conversations you've had with this prospect and who talked to who and what did you talk about, and create an individual log entry. And then I don't know that we're familiar, but we're going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about the sales opportunity screens based on the SaleOp.e. But even before that came along, this sales opportunity screen with multiple steps came into play, where you can have what the first contact was, what product are they asking about, how many units, and the overall price, what's the extended amount, what's the estimated close, and the probability percent. So you can track this through a set of steps. You can assign these steps to people. You can use the alert system to track it when something else happens. So this is kind of a precursor to the sales opportunity screen, where we this came along before we even had sales opportunity records, for those of you who have used this before. So we have prospects and then customers. Obviously, we all know customers. This is where you can load a prospect into a customer, and all you have to do is put in the prospect number. It'll load it all up, and you don't have to re-enter any data, obviously. And then the contacts will load for you. The contact logs will load, and any ship addresses would have to be entered. So I think we're probably all pretty familiar with the customer file and the customer entry screen, but this is how you would flow from the prospect screen into the customer entry screen. And lastly, the prospects, the customers, the reps, and the vendors all have multiple contacts available. And when you open a customer, and let's say we look at a specific customer and we look at the contacts, there's a contact ID field. This is the ID in contact.e. So if I open this contact, really what it's doing is it's opening contact.e, which is the same as going to contact.e and typing in the contact ID number. But if you do it from the customer record or the prospect record, it will bring back any information into the customer or prospect record that you enter on the screen. So they update each other that way. So I can open contact.e, or I could go to contact.e. I can search on the customer by name, phone, address, city, zip, or I can put in, actually, I already forgot that contact number. Sorry, I completely lost my contact number. 243. Oops. Huh.
That's okay. Anybody have any questions too with respect to this, what we're seeing so far in the .NET? Please go ahead, put in the chat. We can open up your mic as well. Just let us know. Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of the overview or preview to the relationship part of this with who you're talking to. Are you talking to prospects? Are you talking to suspects? Are you talking to customers? And are there individual contacts for that customer? So this is all how that plays. And now I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Bill so Bill can review this kind of information and how it's presented in the web version of the client.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Yeah,
sure.
Flip it over here. Almost hit the leave button. But glad we didn't. Okay, so this is this is what it looks like in the web client. So we're landing when we log in on the dashboard. And then if, let's say, we're dealing with a customer, we might, we want to just kind of bring them up, and we're going to pick on Evans Supplies today. So you'll notice a lot of context here you have available, including some KPI tickets loading in there. Just to kind of stick on our theme here, this is what your list of contacts looks like. And you can basically hyperlink, so you can just, one click open up an email to a contact, or one click on the phone number, and bring them up in whether we use Teams, so you could bring them up in your web phone module of choice. Maintenance can be done here. So let's go over to what we tend to use a lot for reporting, et cetera, is this contact log. So this is a place where you can just go to a customer and you can kind of identify, okay, how has my team or company been interacting with this customer of late. So here you can have different types. You can have you can see date, times, etc. Use it for reporting. You can also do the log from here, of course. So let's just say we're doing a demo now. We'll call this a follow up. demo, copy and paste content, and then it's just that easy to log the data. And we're going to see later, in this, what you can do with that data as far as all this data really in Rover BI as a dashboard, perhaps for sales reps or for sales teams. So some other things that are available, customer related, you got everything that you would expect. Opportunities, quotes, orders. So we're going to be talking transactions. And then you also have, returns, ARs, and tickets and time. So this is another great place. You can see if there's been any, kind of support challenges or, other things. If you're using tickets and time, then this is the place where you can get that context with, just one click into a customer and see sort of what's been going on from a support standpoint as well. Field services to the right there as well. So it's really the one-stop place to kind of to do this. Real quick, I'm going to go in and show you the opportunity entry here. So this is in the sales group. We're going to just kind of show you what logging an opportunity looks like. Here you're just going to be bringing up a customer. We talked about if the contact is there, we're going to be, defining the contact. We're going to get the phone, email right there. We can basically estimate, it's an opportunity about $10,000 in value and estimated close. So this is when we are expecting this opportunity to turn into a deal. Let's say we're going to go for the end of the month there. Probability, how likely? So 50% likely. Can determine priority here as well, and status. So status is a big one here. So this is, configurable. I can tell you, notice we got this the indicator where we are as well above, but this can tell us kind of at what stage the opportunity is at. So follow-up date, whether the opportunity is recurring or not, and any notes, and then we can basically just save the record here, and then we've got it in the database, and we're going to get later we're going to see what that looks like and how to kind of bring that to life for the sales team or for sales reps. But this is the data entry part of it. So yeah, I'm going to give a chance to. If anybody has any questions, please jump in. If not, we're going to kick it back to Ron. He's going to talk through some transactions, and then we'll go over to Rover BI. Okay. All right, Ron, the floor is yours.
Okay. So again, in concentrating more on things that are not as widely used as others, because I think we all enter orders, we all post shipments. We want to talk a little bit about these 5 items for right now as far as transactions. There is a lost sale process within Rover. There's a control record where we can set up the types of lost sales. We can type them. This one's late and the price was too high. You can have as many codes as you want, and you can assign these when you do a lost sale record. And then when you get to the lost sale process, I can look at lost sale number 2, and I can see what date it happened on. I can assign it to an SO number and a line number, and it'll bring in the customer in the part, or I can skip those if I never got to the point of entering an order. And I can just say who it was and what part were they talking about, and what was the price and what was the reason code. And this is the drop down for that. And then there's notes. So besides the reason code, which gives you a quick look at why you lost that deal, you can establish in notes more text about what the problem was. And then there is a lost sale R1 where you can run lost sale listings by date, by type code, etc., showing all this information. So the idea here is just to give you a place where, hey, I entered a quote, it never turned into a sales order, or I entered a sales order and then they canceled it for whatever reason or canceled part of it. it gives you a chance to log those problems or those issues so you can kind of keep track of what happened and why. Besides the lost sale, this is the sales opportunity. Now, this kind of dovetails over to what Bill was covering. Sales opportunity control is where all these drop downs are kept. So the status, you remember he dropped down that list of statuses and said step 2, serious interest. This is where that comes from. Even the web client itself comes to the sale op control, excuse me, in the .NET version if you're entering it over here. So you've got your status codes, you got your priorities, classes, sources. So if you want to track where the source of a sales opportunity came from, or what type it is it a web? Was it a trade show? Was it come from a print ad? Did it come from a current customer, or it was a customer at a previous job, etc.? And this is all then managed manually and then defaulted into the sales opportunity screen when we get there. So then the sales opportunity itself, if I think I got just, it's usually a 1, yeah. So you have a 1 and you put a date in for it, and you can say, well, this was today. And you can put a sales opportunity in against a prospect and or a customer, and then the contact will come in from either one of those. This was a sales opportunity for a customer. If it was a prospect, I could put that in here. And then there's some buttons over here to the right where you can open that prospect or open that customer or open that contact if you want to see more detail. This is where the status codes came in, the value, the recurring value, the type codes, the source. This is where all that information comes from. Estimated close, probability percent, what the priority is, who it's assigned to, and then you can set a follow-up, and you can use task.e2 to assign a task to somebody to follow up on this in a certain date and time. Sorry about the old date here. I didn't realize I brought up an old record. But then notes you want to put in about this sales opportunity. And then you can put in individual log records against the sales opportunity. So there was a follow-up call in the beginning, and then the sales inquiry when they finally called back, looks like 11 years later. So this was a long-term opportunity. And then when they called back a sales inquiry, we probably turned it into either a quote or a customer, depending on what we did at that time. You can create a new log record. And then when you do turn this into a record, you can assign a quote number and or a order number, depending on what it went to. If it went directly to a quote or if it went directly to a sales order, you can assign this so you can see where it went and where the sales opportunity ended up. And this then will open up and show on the web or the client or the .NET client, along with the BI tool. Lastly, SOQuote.e. I think most of us are familiar with the SOQuote.e screen. If I look at order number 1060, the sales order quote is the more widely used version. This is where you can quote existing parts or even non-parts like labor if you want to skip the part number field, as opposed to the quote.e that is more of a cost roll-up, one part at a time kind of quote where you're building up material and labor and overheads and things to calculate costs. But the SOQuote.e is a little more akin to the sales order itself, where you have a header, you have line items with unlimited number of line items with quantities. You can base the price. Let me go back to the header for just a second. You can base your pricing on either a markup from cost, or say I'm going to use the price file for this. So if you use the price file, you probably may not see a cost here, but I think you can turn that option on as well. And then if I put a percentage in here, it'll mark it up from the cost. But if I have the header set to P for price, it'll skip. It'll go to the price file and get this, and I can have multiple quantity breaks here if I choose. So I've got summary lines, I've got detail lines, which gives you a little more information allows you to put in some schedule dates and quantities. Most times when you're entering a quote, obviously you don't know the schedule dates and the quantities. So you can just put in, hey, once you give me an order, I'll give you the product 30 days after receipt of the order. And then this will show up on the quote form so they know how long the lead time should be. And then if this gets loaded to a sales order, it shows down here which sales order it got loaded to. So from this, we go quote. And then when we go quote, we can load that into a sales order because there's a quote number field on the header of the sales order. It'll load up for us. So that is the transactions part of what we wanted to cover today. Bill, did you want to cover a little bit of the BI?
Absolutely, yeah.
At this point, okay.
Yeah, so so we've got our context being logged. We've got our customers segmented. We've got our reps in the system. This is the part that I think is where we're going to start using the data to do analysis or to really to bring it to life and make business decisions. So I'm going to kick it over here to a this is a demo sales team dashboard. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through some of the things you can do. This is a an activity by rep, and you see we've got a pivot here, so we can see what types of activities have been done, who has been kind of logging the activity, doing the activity, and then we have overall counts here. We can filter it, etc. here. In this case, we've got a demo quote, so we're actually visualizing maybe demos and quotes are predictors of our sales bookings. So we've got a visualization here that's just showing demos and quotes, and you can drill down here, see who's doing who's been doing the demos, any field that's available in the opportunity, is it available to drill in and pivot, or you can even just view the data, export the data here. So this is coming from the contact log that we've been covering here. Just to kind of keep going here, opportunities. If you're logging opportunities now in the system, now you have access to see kind of, okay, how much is open, company wide, or how many have been closed, and by who, and I can drill down again. Maybe looking at assigned to or customer, and just give you an idea of what's possible here. Overall count of opportunities, where those opportunities are coming from, and then here we have a expected close date. So this is one of those the estimated close from the opportunity record. You'll notice here we have record of some of the ones that have been won, but then we can look ahead and say, okay, we've got 367 that are expected to close this month, and these are the the various statuses. So this data becomes useful in the ability to kind of predict what your what are your sales bookings going to be for this month, next month, because you'll start to use it to understand why are you losing the sale. If we're using lost sale, or if we're using statuses, we'll understand, okay, well, if it's in the quoted status, it I can count on that 2 months from now or something like that, and we can start to use that in the business. So also input to marketing, understanding what products are getting the most sort of traction with opportunities. So here we have segmentation by different types of software. Not surprised at this moment AI is leading the pack, but this is a way for us to gain insight of what products are getting interest. You'll also see here further segmentation by rep, by customer, another way to visualize it. And also the sky's the limit, I guess, is in terms of ways to visualize it. Here we're visualizing opportunities by status. And then we can also just kind of present a table list that we can start to sort and say, okay, well, this is my biggest opportunity. Okay, this is by estimated close, or we can sort by estimated close and start to take action in the business. So you got options to output this as this is a light mode, this is a dark mode, same thing, sales team dashboard. And then what we find, the some of the leading companies are doing is they'll also, dial it into an actual rep specific dashboard, because maybe you have a sales team and the reps are interested in what's my commission going to be, what am I going to do this month. So this is just kind of another version of that team dashboard, but just drilled into a rep. Or let's say you have a team where you've got a CSR teamed with a sales rep. You could see what the activity for that team is, what their demo rate is, what their opportunity value is, when is it expected to close, and everything that we covered before. So and then you can change, you could modify, you could either create a unique URL dashboard for that rep that's always filtered to them and that's all they can see, or you could just allow the rep selection to take place here, and so you just have one dashboard for all your reps. They just pick themselves, and that's the way for you to kind of visualize what's been going on in sales. So just making sure that any opportunity, or if anybody wants to kind of ask any questions here about what they've seen so far, please go ahead, and then we're going to kick it back.
Do we need to open microphones, or are they going to ask through the chat?
If they could ask in the chat, or if we could open all microphones. Ron, what do you think?
Well, we could. I just don't know how to do it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. No, just for now, just please put any questions in the chat. I will go ahead and open up mics for the Q&A part at the end anyway. So I'll kick it back to Ron. We can start walking through some of the other screens that might be useful, and then we'll be ready for Q&A. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and share back. The last few, we covered that already. Let's go down here in this thing. The last few random processes we wanted to cover. I think we're all familiar somewhat with cust.q, but this is where, this is kind of the central repository for all things customer. So when you're looking up a customer, you can see everything, the basic information about the customer, the summary data, summary sales data. Now, this data comes from a nightly sales.p2 process where it summarizes all this for us, just so you know. And that's the detail sales as well. Quotes, which quotes are we looking at? What open orders are there? Job status. This is for make to order type of customers where you have a sales order and a work order that are linked. And as long as they're linked, we know it belongs to this customer. Therefore, we can show you where the work order is on the floor. RMAs, accounts receivable activity. So this is kind of a non-web BI version of being able to go in and drill down and see all this information, along with the contacts and the contact logs. So we see the same contacts, we see the same contact logs that we saw before. Now, there are a couple reports, and I won't run them, but there's the sales opportunity for a date range, lets you pick a range, lets you sort by customer part or reason code, and then you can run it for all the reason codes that are out there, and it'll give you a report that obviously you can export, or you can email, or you can do whatever you want with. And an option to include the notes if you don't want to bother with the notes on the report. You leave this unchecked. Check this box if you want to populate the notes on the report. And the sales opportunity R1, similarly, if I want to run sales opportunities, I can run them for a certain status. I can run it for a certain type, or if I leave these blank, obviously it'll list all, only for certain assigned tos, only for certain customers, or only for certain prospects. Obviously, if I leave all these blank, it'll show me all sales opportunities. So be a little careful if you've got thousands of sales opportunities leaving all these blank. There is I believe we're all familiar with the price.e screen where you can do customer pricing. A couple of things to note here. The customer pricing, the base pricing is at the top. This is non-customer specific with quantity breaks, as many quantities as you want. And then by code. And this code is either a type of a code, which is you assign in price.control, or it's a customer number. So I can get down to specific customers getting specific prices. The one thing I don't see used much, but might be available if you wanted to use it, is this discount feature. You can hard code a price based on whatever your price agreement is with this customer. Or you can say this customer gets a 10% discount from list price. And then so what happens is these all fill in automatically. So if this gets changed to 12% someday, you can do that and it ripples through all the quantities. You don't have to sit there and enter all the quantities and the prices. The discount does the auto calculation for you at that point. Lastly, on the right-hand side, there's alternate price with alternate effective and end date. This is only if you want for a certain period of time a different price to take effect. In other words, for the month of March of 2008, the price was 125 for all dealers. Probably maybe went to a show, had a special for a month, whatever it is. So when an order entry, it looks to that and it says if it's a dealer, if it's between these dates, it'll price it at 125. So alternate is only used if you want to override the price that's on the left with something different. And then you give it an effective date for when that starts. You can leave the end date open and it'll just do it forever after that date, or you can add an end date and after that date it flops back over to the main price for that customer or customer code. The last thing that I kind of wanted to cover is the sales inquiry. Again, not an overly popular process, but if you want a quick snapshot look at your sales by customer or rep or part. So if I look at Evans, it gives me a quick snapshot, which looks like that summary screen that was in cust.q. But you don't have to give access to somebody the entire cust.q screen. They can see it from here. Or I can say it's sales rep. I don't have a TT. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to get a rep listing and I'm going to say Paul Taylor. And this shows me the sales for Paul Taylor. And it shows me margin, revenue, and cost. So I can see all that information. So this sales rep made some money on these months. Or I can say new, and I can look just at one part. And it shows the same information, but for that part only. So this is all being tracked in again, that sales.p2 process. It's analyzing and posting all of the summary data so that the sales analysis can be quick and it doesn't have to go scanning through a million sales records every time you want to look at something. So this is just a little quick sales inquiry for anybody who wants to give somebody access to these. And with that, that's kind of the end of the .NET portion of the presentation today. Bill, was there anything else you wanted to cover in the web?
Negative. I think Ron. Yeah, this is where we can close and open it up first for any Q&A. If anybody has any questions on what they've seen or any questions for one of the founders of the software. We got them, and or myself. So feel free to put them in the chat. Open up your mic. If not, I think we'll close in a couple minutes.
Can they open their mic, or do we have to open it for them?
I believe I did. Oh, here we go. So we got Greg. The sales.q is only showing data from 2022. That is
Yeah.
probably because it's a demo account, Ron?
Yeah,
Or,
it was frozen at one point in time, and nobody's ever rerun the sales.p2 process to rebuild it. That's my bad. I don't keep some of the transactional data as fresh as needs be, because if I did, I'd have to enter a whole bunch of data in this year.
yep. And Amir's thanking us for this. Thanks for joining, Amir. John T, it looks like you have something.
Yeah, so we have the CRM procedure. I don't think is open on our module. So
No, that CRM menu is something I created in menu.e just for today's presentation.
oh, okay.
I took specific pieces out of the sales and marketing menus, so we wouldn't have to process everything on the menu.
That makes sense. Okay.
Sorry, I thought I should have explained that better.
Yeah, we could. I mean, and John could create that for himself, Ron. Right? Is it through
Sure.
menu.e?
Menu.e, and then whatever menu name you add, you go back to the main menu and add it wherever you want to see it in the list. So you create the new menus first, then you go to menu.e for main, which is the main menu, and you add it somewhere in that list, and the next time you log in, it'll show up.
Okay. So it's customization as we go.
Yeah, and pretty much it's used by a lot of people to make specific menus for specific job functions. Somebody, you know, right now when we deliver, because there's so many, we have all the reports in one screen, all the data entry in another, and all processes in a third. But you may want something that's got sales order entry, sales order form printing, sales order report, shipment listing, all in one menu, just to give somebody one place to go find it. Rather than put it into their favorites, you might want to create a menu for it.
Okay. Yeah, because right now we've just been managing it with our favorites, but that's a nice option.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Okay. See if we got anybody else. Looks like we are clear in the chat. So, yeah, just want to thank everybody, for joining us, and anybody watching this later, feel free to reach out to us. Any follow-up questions or any feedback to share. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Take care, everybody.